Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Mortgage. I'm your host, Tracy Valko, and I'm so excited for today's guest. He is one of the #1 recognized names in the Canadian real estate industry, Faisal Susiwala. He earned his real estate license at the young age of 18 and grew his empire to be the #1 real estate agent in the country, in Canada, and also recognized globally in the world as well. Faisal has funded over $4 billion worth of real estate. His proven systems, he's been able to mentor other real estate agents and entrepreneurs on their journey to success. He is the author of the book, The Real Deal, and he is also by heart a true philanthropist. He has funded numerous family homes across the globe. I'm excited to sit with Faisal today. We're going to talk about his empire and how he built that in real estate, how he stayed grounded doing it, and how he truly believes that success needs to be shared in our industry and in business. Let's dive into Faisal's story. Faisal, I'm so excited to have you today. I've watched you over the years, and you're truly an icon in the real estate industry, not only in Canada, but globally as well. I know we've got so much to dissect in this conversation, but first and foremost, I want to say congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on, Tracy.
Yeah, absolutely. I know how much work and dedication it is to be able to do $4 billion worth of real estate in our community and in the industry. I want to kind of dive back to at the beginning of that, because I know you got your license when you were 18 years old.
That's right.
So was that something that you were inspiring to be a real estate agent? Like, how did that all come into fruition?
No, I had no idea what I was getting myself into. So when I was 17, I was watching a late night television program, and it was an infomercial. And it was a Vietnamese gentleman on a yacht. And he was surrounded by these beautiful ladies, showing his Rolls Royces, all these mansions. And he said that he's got this system of buying homes and flipping, and he's created all this wealth in real estate. And I'm like, I want to be that guy. And so he was selling a course. And in those days, you had to buy tapes or cassettes. And, so I called the 1-800 number, and it was $199 or something for his program. I'm like, I don't have $200 to spend on a program. So the next day, I received a magazine in the mail, and it was from Conestoga College. And it had a bunch of courses in there. I was just browsing through it, and it said Introduction to Real Estate. And I'm like, oh, this would be cool. I could learn about real estate by taking this course. So I signed up for the summer after I had finished my grade 12. I signed up for this course. It was a 6-week course, not even realizing that it was a licensing course. So I just thought it's Introduction to Real Estate. I'll learn about all this, flipping. And the people in the class were talking, oh, we're going to get our real estate license. We're going to sell real estate. I'm like, oh, that's interesting, whatever. Anyways, they finished the course, went back to school to do my OAC, and a friend of mine, Jeremy, says to me, hey, you finished this course. Why don't you go talk to my dad? He owns the local Century 21. So I said, okay, well, fine. So I didn't have a car. Walked from GCI downtown Cambridge and met with the owners of C21. And they were very polite, very kind. And the senior gentleman says to me, you know what? You look very young. You should probably go to school for a little while and get some experience, and then come back in 3 or 4 years, and we'll be happy to license you. And, of course, I was disappointed to hear that. I was waiting for the bus at the bus stop, and I remembered there was a gentleman. He had helped my father when we came to Canada in 1973 get our first apartment. And I remember where his office was, and it was just over the Royal Trust building back in those days.
Okay, yeah.
And I thought, I wonder if Mr. Maneri is still there. And I had missed my bus, so I walked up, knocked on the door, and of course there he was behind the big oak desk. And I reminded him of who my dad was, and he's like, oh, of course I remember your dad. And we just started chatting. I said, well, I finished these courses and I can't get anybody to license me. Is there an opportunity to work with you? And he said, well, I'm 74. I'm about to retire. But you know what? Yeah, come work with me for a couple of months. But every day after school, 4 p.m., I want you here. You got to spend some time here and that type of thing. And that's how I started.
Wow.
Yes.
That's incredible.
Yes.
And then your journey from there. So let's talk about that. Were you an independent real estate agent? Did you grow a team? How long did that take for you?
Yeah, well, teams didn't really exist back in those days.
Yeah.
So it was 1988. It was just, you get thrown into the middle of it.
Mm-hmm.
And what was important for me was aligning myself with a really, really good mentor.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned, amazing habits, attributes, ways of doing things that, when you're young, you're impressionable. You can
Yeah.
pick up on good or bad habits. And I was very fortunate to pick up on his good habits. And he would always say, what, just go out there, do a good job. Don't think about the money. It will come. It will take time, but it will come. And just, focus on doing what's right for people. And he lived by that. And sitting there with Mr. Maneri day in and day out, and there was just one other gentleman that was in there, and we would just chat, and he asked me to come along with him on showings and listings and just learn the process. I was very fortunate that within that first 2 months that I was with him, I met some investors that were visiting from South Africa, and it was at a charity event dinner, and I was forced to go with my parents, and of course I'm sitting at this table, and I did not know who these folks were, but they were just talking real estate and things like that, and they were talking about how they were investing in Canada. And the eldest gentleman there sort of looked at me and said, "You young fellow, what do you do?" And now I had two choices. I could say I'm in high school, or I could say I'm a real estate agent,
Yeah.
and I happened to have one of these cards that I had printed. And I said, "Oh, I'm a realtor." And I gave him my card. He goes, "Oh, that's interesting. We're here like looking at investing in real estate." And of course, I didn't think much of it at that point.
Yeah.
Well, Monday morning, they called my office. I wasn't there. I was still in school. And Mr. Maneri said, "Oh, this gentleman called. You're supposed to call him back." So I called him back in the evening. And he said, "Oh, we are going to be in your town tomorrow, hoping that you can show us around and show us some commercial properties, land, investment opportunities, whatever you have."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Wow, okay, this is great. Mr. Maneri, you got to help me. What are we going to do here? I have no idea what I'm talking about."
Yeah.
So, yeah, and we used to have MLS books. They were like,
Yeah, I remember those, yeah.
100 pages thick. And he gets out the book and says, "Okay, well, let's go through this and find some property." So we found a commercial building in Cambridge. We found some land in Ingersoll. We found some new development projects that Mr. Maneri was working on in Ingersoll. And these folks came down, and we said, "Okay, let's go for a tour." I skipped school the next day, of course, and toured around Cambridge, spent about 7 or 8 hours with them. And by the end of the day, they had identified this building in Cambridge that they wanted, and they were interested in buying these blocks of townhomes that they were interested in. And we did those deals, and that was all in the first 2 months that I was in the business. And the local paper picks up on this story and says, the headline was "City Teen Sold on Real Estate." And I had sold $2 million worth of real estate in 1988, still while in high school, to these investors. And the commission was $60,000. My parents combined were not making that much money a year.
Yeah.
So I came home and said to Mom and Dad, "This is it. This is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life." And I've never looked back.
Wow, that's incredible. Yeah. So talk about that when you talked to your parents. Were they they obviously knew about real estate, but did they understand the industry? Did they realize the amount of actual money that you can make at that type of profession?
No, they did not. So when I came to them in 1988, when I had been accepted at Laurier, at Guelph, at Waterloo, and said, "I'm not going to go to university." And being South Asian parents, their whole focus on coming to Canada was education, better life, all of that. And, doctor, lawyer, engineer, if you've got Indian parents, those are your choices.
Yeah.
And they're like, "No way. This is absolutely not happening. You can do whatever you want afterwards, but you're going to university." I had to reach out to my mom's uncle, who was a professor at Brock, and said, "Uncle Bond, he's a British gentleman." I said, "You need to come talk to my parents. They're not letting me go into real estate. They want me to go to university." And I've just done so well, and I didn't really get into the information of what I had done. So he said, "Okay, you know what? Thursday afternoon, I'm going to drive down and talk to your mom and dad." And he was like sort of the great uncle for our family. And we're sitting there, and he came with the full intention of making sure that I get my head right and go to school and do the right things. We're sitting there, we're chatting, and he says, "It's really a tough industry. It's sales, it's commission, it's not easy, it takes time, you're very young," all of that. And he says, people don't make a lot of money in this business. It's very, very tough. And I said, okay, I understand that, but I have just done this over the last couple of months. And he looks at my mom and dad and says, let this kid do exactly what he's doing. He's doing the right thing. He does not need to go to university. Now, of course, I would never give that advice to my kids today, not to do that.
Yeah.
But if you're really passionate about something, you really find a place. Not everyone fits into that box of secondary education or post-secondary education. And if you find what you love, what you're passionate about, what really drives you. I'm 38 years in the business. I still wake up every morning excited to face the day. I have no desire to retire. I have no desire to take it easy. I love what I do. I would have a huge hole in my heart if I didn't do what I do each day.
I love it. Yeah. No, absolutely. So let's talk about, because you started with investments. Is that how you niched in that, or did you pivot and still do a lot of residential real estate and went into it to the investment side? Tell me how that transition happened.
The investment side came organically out of necessity. Mm-hmm. So I mentioned the South African group. They were from South Africa. They were not Canadian residents. So when they purchased this $750,000 building in Cambridge, they needed a Canadian resident to be a partner with them. I had zero money, except I had commission coming in. And they said, why don't you take a 5% interest with us? And that's how I started. At the age of 18,
wow.
I took a 5% interest in this commercial building with them. And then I had to learn a lot because now I had to manage this building when they went back to South Africa. So I had to really take a crash course on understanding commercial real estate. Mm-hmm. After that time, I would keep finding other opportunities. I never pivoted to becoming a commercial realtor.
Okay.
I always stayed a residential realtor, but I used my residential real estate success to fuel my commercial passion investment and building some wealth through that channel and being able to speak to the average individual who owns a home that wants to do an investment doesn't get the kind of attention from a commercial realtor because the numbers are different, the scale is different. So there was a real missing sector of just people who needed advice, but people who needed advice from those who had actually done it. It's very difficult to tell someone this is a good investment to buy if you're in a rental apartment renting yourself and trying to give advice on somebody on how to buy. So the value that I brought was I had that experience at a very, very early age. And I started really focusing in on syndicating, networking people together, putting groups together, taking a share in everything I was selling. So it was all about skin in the game. If I'm telling you, Tracy, buy this property, I think it's really worth it. You can do really well in it. If you're open to it, I'm also willing to come in with you as a partner because that's how much I believe in this. So that is how just organically I started becoming partners with several different people. And I would say 99% of the time those partnerships worked out very, very well. The odd times that it didn't work out, I gave them the option of you buy me out, I buy you out, not for any profit, what our initial was, just so there wouldn't be any bad feelings.
I love that because you built basically a system, right? A system to be able to help people build investment without putting everything into it because people are used to that traditional, again, being on the finance side, a lot of people coming in thinking they have to just buy it themselves and not look at co-owning these investment properties. So you really did template a great process that when I read a lot about your bio, and I just know in the industry as well, I think that's really helped you with the growth of your business too, because it's reciprocal with other investors that have been successful with you to be able to build on that, right?
It is. And what happens is if you've created some form of success in any business, it's the word of mouth. And instead of you reaching out to people and say, hey, I need a partner, they're reaching out to you saying, we want you to partner with us, or we want you to do what you did for these other individuals and help us grow our portfolio the way you've helped them grow theirs. And the value comes in when you're doing the right thing for people.
Absolutely.
When you really do believe it. You're not looking at what's the commission I'm going to make on this deal. You're looking at how can I help these folks grow their wealth and have a long-term relationship with these people and be part of their wealth journey. That's where the real relationship grows. goes.
And I find that when I've spoken to a lot of people that are successful in various industries, you're so right, because it seems to be the same type of mindset. It's not about the dollar at the end of the day. It's about the impact that you're making with the person, right?
There's no question. There are years that I did very well in the first year. Up to 18 months, I did very well. 1990, the bottom fell out of this market. And you question every decision you've ever made. Did I do the right thing? Should I have gone to school? What was I thinking? But if you put your head down, stay focused, do all the things that will build your business. And it's hard to do when times are tough. We're going through that now, right?
100%.
There's a lot of last 10 years has really been feasting for most people related to the real estate industry. And they didn't have to have a huge amount of skill in order to do well.
Exactly.
Now, you need to have skill, you need to have patience, you need to have knowledge. 2019 to 2022, it was like Tim Hortons drive-through. Can I take your order?
Exactly.
What do you want to buy?
Exactly.
Today, you have to understand where the market is, where it's going to, and be able to deliver that message to your clients and make sure you're doing the right thing for them.
So let's talk about that, because you've been 3 decades in the industry. We talk about like different economic changes. We've seen it. You and I both seen it. I've been three decades as well. What do you think when you speak to clients about this, and we're going through this transition right now, how do you reflect back on what's happened with economies and how you've been able to look at real estate? What's the information and education that you give clients in this market now?
The biggest message, or the main takeaway in this market is, and I've learned this from year one of the first recession, then the second recession, that these are not times to panic. These are times to plan.
Yeah.
And these are times of opportunity, but these are also times to pause.
Yeah.
So you don't have to do something just because you think the world is going to end, or tariffs are going to be the end of this world. It's just a time to really take a step back, make some thoughtful decisions, and plan out your next step, next year, next 2 years. I talk to a lot of seniors right now, and of course, prices have come down, and some of them are saying, well, I better sell right now, because if I don't sell right now, the market's going to crash, and then I won't even get what I want. I don't truly feel that that's going to happen. I feel it's going to be flat. I don't expect there to be a big home run over the next 2 years. So I say to folks that, look, if you have a need to move, you want to be closer to your grandchildren, there's something that's making you make this move today, then do it. Because whether you sell now or 2 years from now, I think you're going to be pretty much even. But don't sell on the fact that you think the market's going to crash. If you don't have a need to sell and you're able to wait it out a few more years, I'm very confident that the market is going to turn around. I don't believe we are in a housing crisis whatsoever. I believe we're in an affordability crisis.
Absolutely.
But not a housing crisis. I think we have way too much inventory on the market. Do we need another million homes? Absolutely not. No. So you have to read between what's politically driven and what is actually realistic. And that's where the thoughtfulness has to come into our conversations. And when you're sitting across the table from a client, having this conversation in the way I'm having it with you, you're no longer a salesperson. You're a friend, you're a consultant, you're someone of knowledge that's sharing what you truly believe. And you can't make that up. You're either genuine or you're not.
Exactly.
And that's what people see. That's what resonates with them. And you've got to become relatable to people. And I say this to a lot of young people that are starting in the business. Like, don't go by what you've seen on social media and just regurgitate that to people. Like, that's not real life. Insta life is very different than real life, right? And it's important for people to have their own opinions. A lot of my opinions are not popular. When I say we're not in a housing crisis, the politicians hate when I say that, because it doesn't serve their agenda, right? But realistically, you have to believe what you're saying, and you have to know what you're talking about and be able to share that with people.
And I love the fact, because you're still front-facing with your clients after all these years, even though you have a team, right?
I don't have a team.
You don't? Okay.
I refer buyers that I'm not in a past client agent relationship with. So only new clients I refer out.
Okay.
If any of my past clients reach out to me, I still work with them as buyers.
Okay.
Every listing I show up for. I never have had an agent take a listing on my behalf. So it's always me that shows up. Whether it's a rental property, a lease that's being written up, it's always going to be me that works with the seller or the landlord.
So let's talk about, because that's so interesting. Like, I know you have a support team that helps you.
I have 4 full-time assistants that
Yeah.
I would be absolutely useless without.
Which they're incredible, because I know I've talked to them as well. But let's talk about that, because you are that single real estate agent and you're number one with RE/MAX in Canada and the top globally as well. Like, that's incredible. And that playbook of that success, like, not many people can actually emulate that.
It comes down to experiences that create systems. And if there's one thing that I've been able to come up with is systems that work, but I have great support that knows how to execute those systems and
Okay.
knows how to drive that system properly. So it's all about having that structure in your business, which allows me to have a life. Because one might say, well, if you're selling 400 homes a year,
That's it.
how do you see your family and whatnot? In 2014, we purchased a cottage in Blue Mountain, and every Thursday night I would leave and come back Monday. People would say, well, you're going to be out of business in no time. Like, evenings, weekends is when realtors have to be. And that actually forced me to even ramp up my system to a more efficient system where I would only do offers Monday to Thursday. I only took listings Monday to Thursday. And people say, well, how the heck are you going to do offers on Saturday? I'm like, why would you want to do an offer on a Saturday? Friday, Saturday, Sunday are the busiest days for showings. That's when you get the most activity. If you remember back in 2020 and 2021, agents would bring offers on a Saturday afternoon. You had till 9 p.m. Saturday night. Guess what? Monday morning, no bank draft. No deposit came in. So why are we forcing sellers to sit down midnight on Saturday night to accept an offer, get them all excited, celebrate, and then Monday morning I've got to make the phone call saying, you know what? The banks were closed Sunday and these people have had a change of heart. And we've seen a lot of that. That's why if you read my listings, there's no sold being registered. There's no disclosure of what the house sold for, and I want the bank draft attached to the offer. I took a lot of heat for it, but I stand by it. It hasn't hurt my business. I have peace of mind. I'm not putting people in a position where they feel that they've got something done and they make decisions on that. So these systems work, and implementation of these systems is very important. And it's just basically training people and saying, well, why would you want to take an offer on Friday night when you've got Saturday and Sunday showings booked? You don't get your money today. I don't get paid today. They don't get their house today. Why am I rushing you on a Friday night or Saturday night to accept an offer?
It's so true, though. It makes absolute perfect sense on that.
Yes.
Yet so many real estate agents rush to it on the weekend and panic the clients,
Or
right?
these 2-hour deadlines, it's like you got 2 hours to. Why do I have to force my seller to make the largest financial decision of their life in 2 hours?
Yeah.
Give me 24 hours. Let them think about it. Because I don't want a seller picking up the phone the next day saying, we really felt rushed last night and we think we made a mistake. That is not a good conversation to have. And tons of agents have those conversations on a daily basis.
So let's talk about your book, The Real Deal.
Yes.
Is a lot of that playbook that you're talking about, those systems of what you've developed in that book?
So there's 3 sections to the book. And that book was developed over 10 to 12 years of Post-it notes and scribbles and all kinds of things that I had just accumulated over years and files. And when COVID happened, in March of 2020, I packed up 3 days a week and I would go to the cottage and I would just sit and type And I just started spewing out all my thoughts, all my notes, organized it. I published it by September of 2020. And what I was doing there was basically creating a biography. We don't get a chance to really sit down with our kids, and they don't like to listen to us talk anyway.
True.
So it was just about my journey, and it was more or less a roadmap that, what my children have experienced since they've been born is very different than what I had experienced, and what got me to that point where I've been able to give them and myself and my family a very beautiful and comfortable life. But what struggles did I get through? And God forbid my children should ever run into struggles in their life. I wanted them to have a little bit of a roadmap and have some inspiration to say, well, if Dad could do it from this to be where he is, then, there is hope. So that was one part of that. Part two of it was just sharing strategies with my clients who would always ask me, I want to invest. What do I do? What's your plan? How did you do it? What was your sort of formula? And that this middle section of the entire book is just different systems, formulas, ways, thought processes that I would use in order to grow my wealth. And the last section of it, it's 12 basic systems on being a realtor. What systems do I implement in my business? What are my strategies? What are my takeaways from what I've learned, and how do I implement it, and what are my systems? So those three things I've combined into one book. And, even my editor said, you're crazy, you should have different books. This is probably the only time in my life that I'll be able to sit down and do this. Yeah. And I want to just put it all out there, because there were so many times that people would reach out to me and say, hey, we'd like to meet with you for coffee or lunch, and we'll learn. And I just didn't have the time to do it. Yeah. So now I'm able to just send them a book and say, here you go. It's all in here. Read it and follow it. If that, it's literally an open book to say, this is what I've done. And the challenge that all industries have, you're extremely successful in what you do.
Thank you.
And people will say, well, I can't do that. I'll never be Tracy. She's huge, which is true. But why are you huge? Because you've been consistent. You have a system. You know what you're doing. You're knowledgeable, and you're sticking with it. Execution is the problem. So, nothing that I've ever done in my life is proprietary, is something that I've invented. I've just modeled excellence creatively to what fits my life and what seems natural to me. And like I said, I started off with 300 flyers in a little subdivision, grew that to 25,000, which I still do each month. Of course, the information has all changed on it, but it's something that if every agent just did one thing consistently that they've learned out of seminars and podcasts and all that, but
just stuck with it.
Those of us who have had any success in any industry understand three things. You have to take action, you have to remain consistent, and you have to allow time. We call it ACT, A-C-T. If those three things are implemented in any industry, that is your formula to success.
I 100% agree with you. And I love the fact, I haven't been in it as long as you, but it's been 26 years, but I feel like I've been in the finance all my life because my parents were bankers, so I grew up in that industry. But when I first started in this community, I would go knocking on doors, and we were able to go in apartment buildings back then. And for me, it was about just having conversation, just to help understand where people were at, what they were struggling with financially. Was it a goal to own a house or get into, a semi-detached? Back then, there wasn't a lot of condos back in KW. But it was also to be able to help with conversation. And I think that some of the groundwork that you and I have built up in our business, yes, you're very fortunate to have a really great mentor, which I love. I think everybody should. But I think that, again, you still have to work through systems, see what is working, what's not, take maybe 2 steps back to take 10 forward. And I feel like, you're an extreme example of that and how successful you are. If you look back in the, 38 years you've been doing this, is there something that has profoundly impacted you that was able to set your business in a different and a better direction? Or was there something that was a huge lesson for you that you were able to pivot to be successful?
Throughout life, there have been many instances and many and I can't name one. It all stems from the wish and the need to have a better life and not to have struggles. I didn't grow up with any sort of form of wealth or any of that, and my family had gone through many tragedies and struggles, and we grew up seeing all of this. Both my parents were factory workers. My father lost his right arm in an industrial accident when I was 5 years old. So we saw what it was like to have struggles. We lost our family home in 1978 when the interest rates were 23%. So all of those experiences have create a lot of compassion for me when I'm dealing with people that are going through challenges in their life. So I think that's the background of it, and that every morning, waking up in that fear of poverty, it drives me. It drives me to feel that I never want to go back to a time where there was insecurity or that feeling of loss or that threat of the sheriff going to show up and lock us out, that type of thing. So but throughout life, you run into people that have a profound impact on you. And it doesn't have to be business. It's just your mindset. And one of the things that I've learned over time is a lot of your mindset is based on how it's heart set, really. And if you, as much as you're not supposed to use your heart in making business decisions, I think when you're dealing with people, you have to give advice with your heart, not so much with your mind. So that's important. I'm a huge follower of Tony Robbins since I was 16 years old. And that is more life training, mind training, dealing with negativity, getting over objections, not beating yourself up, feeling what you have to feel in the moment and getting past it and not letting it ruin your day and bring your energy down. So these are all things that I've been able to, again, just learn through life. There have been certain instances in my life that have been turning points, and I talk about this in my book. And I don't get too deep into it ever because it's deeply personal to me. But we were in New York during 9/11. We were booked to go to the 104th floor at 8:30 a.m. for breakfast. I slept in, delayed to noon lunch, and we never made it. And that's when the plane hit. So having spent 4 days there afterwards, not being able to leave New York City, is surreal. You're there and you're sort of seeing what's going on. But Natalie was 6 months pregnant with our son 23 years ago. And, the thought was, why? Like, everything that was supposed to happen would have led us to being there, and we weren't there. And what that did was it created such a huge aspect of gratitude and a need to do something and give back and look at each day as a bonus and not take anything for granted, because in an instance, everything would have changed had we been there at the time that we were supposed to be there.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
And let's talk about your children today.
Yes.
How old are they?
So Yusuf is 23. He just graduated from Western with a health science degree. So 4 years ago, he came to me and he said, I'm going to become a doctor.
Okay.
And I'm like, you're crazy. Why do you want to become a doctor? That is hard stuff. He goes, Dad, you're Indian. I'm supposed to be a doctor. And I'm like, you're crazy. Stop this nonsense. Anyways, 3 years in, he calls me one night from Western and he says, hey, you know what? This real estate thing doesn't seem so bad. How do you feel about me getting my real estate license? I'm like, what? Like, first of all, you're not quitting university. You're getting your degree because I paid for it. But yeah, hey, look, if that's what you want to try it out. I wasn't showing any enthusiasm. So 2 weeks ago, he graduated on the 13th of June, and on the 10th of June, he finished his real estate licensing courses. So by July 1st, he will be a realtor.
Amazing.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So now you do have a team.
No. He's going to work for. So I have my own brokerage as an independent single brokerage, but he's going to be working with my affiliate brokerage, which is Remax Twin City.
Okay.
As an independent agent, I want him to learn on his own. Of course, I will be there to mentor him and give him advice, but there's no handouts. We have to eat a lot of crap before we eat dessert.
Yes.
So that's what's going to happen. And he needs to learn that. He understands that, and he's up for that challenge. And then my daughter, she is going into third year of political science at Western as well. And
Nice.
yeah, we're not quite sure. She's very free-spirited. We're not sure what she thinks she wants to be a lawyer, and we'll see where that goes. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yes.
Oh my God. And I love the journey of what you're doing with your son, because I think that's so important that, they have to learn, like we did, right? You have to kind of learn from the beginning and kind of work your way through that, because I mean, you and I've spent a lot of time building businesses, right? And it's a lot of hard work, right?
And there's so much joy in accomplishing, and look, he's already under that, well, of course, your dad's in the business. He's going to take care of you, all of that. Yeah. And the whole nepotism thing. And look, it's going to be there. There's no question. It's going to be there. So I want him to really feel that he's accomplishing what he accomplishes on his own. And look, he'll always have my support. But I think it's important to feel that pain sometimes.
Yeah. That's incredible. Let's talk about the next 10 years. What do you envision for yourself?
Well, I love what I'm doing, so I'm going to continue doing that. I have several land holdings that I've accumulated over the last 30 years that were just land banking and shelving, because I did some small developments. So I'll be focusing a little bit more on that, but my main bread and butter business will continue as it is. I have no desire to slow down or retire or take it easy. Just having too much fun doing what I'm doing.
I love it. I can see it in you. You're definitely passionate.
Yes.
And let's talk about the economy. I mean, it's amazing you stayed in this community. You love it. I know you do. And you're probably just like me. You believe so much in what this community has built, what it can bring. Tell me where you see Kitchener-Waterloo, Cambridge in the next 10 years.
I really do believe that we are going to continue to thrive. We are affordable. We are accessible. We have so many educational facilities that are within a 30-minute radius of wherever we are. So I think we're going to see a lot more movement into our communities, so infrastructure needs to be there. I think we're in a growth zone. I can go back to 1990, and I'll just talk about Cambridge because that's my hometown.
Yeah.
In 1990, Cambridge values were 25% below Waterloo. Okay.
Wow.
And they were about 15% below Kitchener, and somewhere around 25 to 30% below Guelph. Cambridge and Kitchener are almost at par now.
Yeah.
We're maybe 5 to 7% under Waterloo, still about 10% under Guelph. So what that's telling me is that this region is just in a growth stage, and it will continue to do so, because when people are coming out of Toronto, they want to sleep on the 401. A lot of the buyers are into work at home, IT, tech, or trucking. And that's been our experience in our market. So what do they need? They need the 401 access. They need good internet service. But what is the reason for coming here? Because affordability. And we talked about affordability crisis early on here. The crisis with affordability means that I'm very fortunate that I can pay for 2 condos for my kids in Western. But not everyone's in a position to do that. So what do they need to do? They need to pick up their families and move to London or wherever their child. Now, what if you have 2 or 3 kids that are going to different universities? So Cambridge, Kitchener-Waterloo has really become a hub for those parents who can say, okay, we'll move here, we'll do the commute. At least our kids only have a 25 or 30-minute commute to Conestoga, Laurier, Waterloo, Guelph, depending on where they're, McMaster, even Western. I know of people that live in this region that have kids that go to Western 4 days a week. So it's the hub, and that's the reason why this is population growth in other areas, rapid growth, affordability is going to be the reason that we're going to succeed here.
And I totally agree with you on that. So just to wrap up, because I know it's a privilege to have you here, and I really appreciate your time, your knowledge, and how you give back to the community and the industry. Is there any final words that you would like to say to listeners?
I just want to say more for young listeners, okay? Like you are surrounded by so much noise, by so much social media. Like get through that stuff and look at the reality of where you are. Look at the reality of the community you're in. Don't generalize. Be specific and be mindful and look at your life as, what can I do to better me, B, my community, and then go beyond that. I just feel that find something you're passionate about, and it doesn't matter what that is, and stick to it. If you're passionate about it, stick to it. Because if you allow the time and you continuously take the action and you're consistent, you will succeed in whatever you decide to do in your life.
I love it. It's just consistency and making sure you're passionate. And let's talk about your final words to someone that's considering going into real estate.
Build your brand. Build your name. Build up who you are, and give a reason for somebody to relate to you. So get involved in community, get involved in charity, get involved in clubs, whatever it is. And again, if you're into pickleball, join a pickleball team, sponsor some events, whatever it is. If you want to help, join Big Brothers, Big Sisters, the food bank, the hospital, any charitable organization. Be there, not because you're trying to get business, but because you're involved. Like, become a part of your community. But branding yourself, there's personal branding, there's community branding, there's all kinds of branding that you can do. But it's just getting your name out there and getting known, being available, and create networks and learn from people who have succeeded, and just model what they've done, because it's worked for them and it can work for you as well.
I love it. And you're so involved in the communities, and that's part of the reason why you're successful as well.
Are.
Yeah, we both are, very much so. Well, thank you so much. And for any of the listeners that want to get a hold of you, how are they able to connect with you?
So, social media is a great way to connect with me. Instagram, I'm on Instagram, Facebook. My website is faisal@homeshack.com. Reach out to me. And my phone number, my office phone number is 519-624-5555.
Well, thank you again, Faisal, and I look forward to having you on again on another episode.
Such a pleasure being with you today. Thank you.
Thank you for joining in today's conversation. If you enjoyed today's podcast, please make sure you click the subscribe button, share with your network, friends, or family. And until next time, make sure you support one another and stay connected to your amazing community.